First impression. I think I didn't know what an ema was at first. So, of course, I Googled it first. And then when I realized what it was, I was like, I haven't worked on such a big scale since maybe high school. So it felt really exciting, and I was really happy to do it. I had a few sketches that I did for this ema project. There were two sketches which I really liked and was debating for a long time whether I should go with one of them. This was the other one, and the other was like a seascape. I had a feeling that I want to do something nature themed, and I was debating between sea and forest and snow, and both of these ideas that I had, they both relied a lot on like existing artworks, like oil paintings from Finnish fine artists from the Golden Age. This was more inspired by Pekka Halonen and his nature artworks with lots of snow and sceneries in the midwinter. And the other one had inspiration from Akseli Gallen-Gallela and the Finnish national epic Kalevala. Really weird words maybe, but yeah, it had like a seascape with two girls dancing in the waves. But I think this was like a better choice. Because it's gonna be winter soon and I really miss the snow, so I wanted to paint snow, so I decided to go with this one. I imagined this place, I think, could be in northern Finland, maybe in Lapland, but it could also very well be like in our winter cabin, because all the elements that are present, the rowan berries in the corner, the birch trees and everything, those are things that I can see when I'm in Finland in the winter. I think of course, it was challenging to work on a completely new medium. This was the first time I was using acrylic gouache for this painting, and but I did a lot of research beforehand how to prime the wood and how to use those paints. So I think I had the technique down quite well, at least the first steps. And when I started painting, since it was a new medium to me, I had to focus a lot more into each step that I was making, which also really helped me to get in the zone. So I was really focused when I made this painting. I was like super focused. When I'm making art with watercolors, usually I don't get that feeling that I'm in a zone so often anymore. But with this one, I was really challenged to create something interesting with tools that I had not used before. Well, I think the focal points of this painting is the character on the foreground and the small creature on her shoulder, which is I think the name of the creature, I think it was a stoat in English. Yeah, a stoat is kärppä in Finnish, and kärppä is in Oulu, my hometown. Kärppä is the mascot of the local hockey team. So that was really, I wanted to include that one in there, just a bit of a fun thing. But I also really enjoyed. This was the first time I was drawing a stoat, so I wanted to make it as cute as I could. I guess I think about that a lot when I start making the initial ideas, initial sketches. I make sketches, colored sketches on an iPad or on a separate piece of paper. I think about what colors I wanna have in the painting. With this one, deciding when I am finished, when everything is laid out, was a bit more challenging, because I knew that I can go back to each detail and change things if I'm not satisfied with them. So I was fixing small things until the very end end of the deadline. I wanted to make sure that everything was according to my own standard. But I think still I don't feel like I overworked this painting. Having the furthest layer, which is just one layer of paint in the background, makes it feel really refreshing, and having on top of it the layers of really thick layers of paint makes it look, I think I'm really happy with it. I had so many different kind of brushes that I got myself for this painting, but I think at least maybe 10 different kind of brushes for different applications, of course. I had a really big brush to make the background, and then a bit more detailed brushes, smaller brushes to make the nice details. I also experimented with different kind of brushes, some with pig hair and synthetic, because they all give off a different kind of feeling. Some bristles are really rough, so it leaves a nice scratchy kind of feeling into the canvas or the wood, and the ones that are synthetic are really soft, so it's really smooth looking texture that it leaves. I think that's pretty much it. So the first thing I did with the Emma was making a sketch with just a regular HB pencil. It doesn't show in the video, but I first printed out the sketch that I had in a really small, an A4 sized sketch. I printed that out in many pieces so that I had the whole Emma, the whole sketch in that size, and traced it onto the board. And after that I used a really nice diluted a reddish tone as the base, because I thought since it's going to be left in the background, it's not gonna show, so I used a really toned down paint for it. For the underpainting I used a mixture of different kind of colors. You can still see in the painting the lowest layers, which is the sky in the background. I kinda worked my way from the background to the foreground when I was painting this painting. In the farthest background I wanted to have really nice tones of ochre and purple mixed together, so that it would set the tone of the painting. After I had made the background for the painting, I started thinking about the next layer, which was the layer that the character is on top of. I wanted to have a snowy field or snowy trees in the background. I first started painting white snowy field in the lower parts of the Emma, but decided against it at another point in the painting. I felt that it would be nicer to have a really nice, a bit higher trees in the background to have more shape going on. It felt too a naivistic painting when it had that shape in the lower part of the painting. After that, I moved on to the base colors. So I made the base for the trees in the background, for the character and the stout and the character's clothes and hair. And after that, I moved on to a little bit onto the more detail-rich things in the character, still making the areas close to the bases like shadows and stuff like that. After that, I moved on to the details of the painting. I think this was the most intensive part of the painting. I really wanted to focus on many parts to have them as detail-rich as possible. I really paid close attention to the rowan berries and the snow, and wanted to have like a lot of nice texture in the details. I used all sorts of different brushes with different textures to create this varying kind of like I wanted the paint to look a bit like snow. So I used like a lot of paint. I think I used like 4 tubes of just white paint to get this out of it. What makes a good artwork? I think for me, I can only like answer what makes a good artwork for me, because I think it's different for many people. For me, a good artwork is a piece that I really just I can't stop looking at, like something that challenges me, something that I look at more than maybe 10 seconds. That is to me a good artwork. But on a generic sense, a good artwork is an artwork which has a good contrast, which has a good, interesting composition, and all those basic elements which make like a harmonious artwork. I definitely get that feeling sometimes that like this is a really good one. I think it's just a feeling that you have succeeded, because I kind of put my workflow in many steps. There's the sketch, there's the underpainting, the painting, the line art, all those things. When I feel like I have succeeded in each of those and it has come out like really great, I might think that this is a really good artwork, but I still feel like the initial idea is the most important part. If the initial idea is not a good idea, then it's not gonna become an interesting and good artwork, no matter how well the other parts of the art making goes. So I feel like my personal favorites are the ones that I figured out a really nice idea before I even started sketching out. Future challenges. I wanna learn new skills. Of course, I always wanna learn more how to make things. Future aspirations. I think these don't have to, like, these don't specifically relate to like my workflow, but I would really like to get a studio, like a really nice art studio here in Tokyo, and work alongside other creatives, and maybe work on a really like big project, something that I could work on for a year or two. That would be like really nice. You should just do it. It's just, if you enjoy making art, then you should do art. And I can remember when I felt like making art was like the best thing. I get that feeling still many times, and it's something else. If you want to make art, then make art. You don't have to do it as a profession, but just if you feel like making art, you should make art.